and make it happen.
Right, this is Alan B. Smith with Paranormal Now and Paranormal Pop. I'm with Michael Hill, the creative genius behind Septembryo. Michael, how are you, man?
Good. Doing much better now that I've been called a genius. Thanks, Alan.
You got it. Yeah, so I'm glad that you're on once again. Well, of course, we'll do the regular show as well. And we'll take the segment and we'll edit it into the regular Paranormal Now segment as well. But awesome. The most interesting thing about your music that appeals to me is the fact that it's paranormally inspired. So your new album, can you tell us about that and specifically how it's paranormally inspired?
Well, the new album's called Nightmares, and it's the first installment of a 2-part concept album called Nightmares and Daydreams. The second part, Daydreams, is going to deal with a lot of the positive aspects associated with law of attraction. Nightmares actually focuses on the negative aspects that don't often get talked about, like depression and suicide and sleep paralysis and shadow people and all sorts of frightening manifestations. So that's where Nightmares comes from.
See, but I love that. I mean, how many musicians would I interview and that would be the first thing they say to describe their album?
Right. And then, so the album itself was kind of like an epiphany in my life, because I think we've all heard of law of attraction.
Yeah.
Thanks to The Secret, but also thanks to The Secret, we all think of it as in, I'm going to visualize and focus and manifest stuff. And it honestly never occurred to me that law of attraction was kind of going at all times. And when I kind of went through this really dark period in my life, I kind of had this wake-up call that I was manifesting all those things too. Mm-hmm. So that's where the epiphany started, and Nightmares is that first chapter, and it began this whole big journey in my life, both personally and in my music.
Was shadow people involved in that as well?
Yes, actually. So one of the reasons why it's called Nightmares and Daydreams is in kind of law of attraction lore, dreaming and other states of consciousness, including out-of-body experiences, are all said to kind of be this state of being that allows you to instantly manifest. Whereas in physical existence, because the buffer period of time, it takes a little bit longer for our thoughts to actually turn into things. So when it comes to, your nightmares or your daydreams, it's kind of like getting a sneak preview of what your future is going to bring you if you keep on that vibration. So for me, one of the things I noticed was, I experienced sleep paralysis, or that's the closest thing I can call it, because I'm never paralyzed. And, a lot of people will actually attribute sleep paralysis experiences to something more supernatural, which I think is interesting. And I've noticed that some of the things I've seen during those states would actually coincide with what I would feel all day. I remember one day, I kind of wasted it away playing a video game, and I was really frustrated and angry. And generally, my experiences with sleep paralysis are pretty different from most people. They're not really negative or scary most of the time. They're usually neutral or positive, mostly just curious. And for this night, I seen this entity kind of come into my room, and he was basically laughing at me, and in a way that just really angered me. And I began just like cursing at him and telling him to get the hell out of there. And then he felt pretty satisfied by my response. At least that's the impression I got in the experience. And he disappeared, faded away. And it wasn't until after it was done that I realized, looking at him like, well, that was a very different experience. Why did that happen this time? And I kind of remembered what I had spent the day doing and how I was feeling. And I think we all have the experience of having dreams and realizing that they kind of reflect what we've done during the day. Right. And it would definitely fit the theory that, our dreams kind of represent where we're at vibrationally and kind of give us this summary of what we're putting out there, if dreams are instant manifestations. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And I've had a few other experiences during my time learning about those concepts that definitely fit those theories.
Did you feel like you just completely cracked, or I mean, this was just like a dream, or actually something paranormal?
Well, so I kind of experience the sleep paralysis every night. So I'm actually really casual about my interpretation of it. My thought is that it's very possible that other states of consciousness are just as valid as the reality we experience every day. And so the question of whether something's real or not is a little irrelevant in my view, because the way I look at it, it could all be equally valid. It's just we spend more time focused in one reality than the other. So I don't really base a lot of my life choices or get too wrapped up in it, like what did this dream mean, or like what did I experience and who was that entity. I just kind of like take it as it comes. And I think because I address it so casually, it doesn't really cause any problems in my life, whereas I know for a lot of other people it can wreak havoc, because they genuinely believe that demons are coming for them and absorbing their energy, and that can be a very terrifying thing. But for me, it's like I look at it, and yeah, there could be other states of consciousness that allow us to experience other realities, or I could be wrong too. I'm kind of more just amused and fascinated by all than anything else. So that's kind of just how I look at it. It's just very casually and at a distance, and I kind of appreciate it more than anything else.
Do you think that in the very fact that your music is sort of inspired by the paranormal or dreamlike alternate reality experience, it could actually sort of induce the listener in some way? Or
yeah, I mean, because the way I see it, there's no such thing as the supernatural world. I forget what the quote was or who said it, but it's brilliant. They said there's no such thing as the supernatural world. There's just the natural world we understand and the natural world we don't. So everything supernatural you can think of, there's some kind of explanation for it. Whether some of the theories we have right now are correct or not is kind of irrelevant. When you look at something like electricity, in the past, that was a supernatural force, just because we didn't understand it. And so we made up our mythologies about it, kind of like how we do about UFO experiences and abduction cases. We apply our stories to these things we don't understand. Some of them could be right, some of them could be wrong. We don't know.
So you're saying that there isn't an enclave of fairies working underground creating magical energy called electricity?
There could be. I mean, how many people can explain to you how electricity actually works? But we know enough to benefit from it. But definitely, so in that theory, if there's no such thing as the supernatural world, just the natural world we understand and the natural world we don't, supernatural experiences are actually common experiences. And I think if you subscribe to the theory of law of attraction, it would make a lot of sense that the more focus you give supernatural experiences, the more you invite them into your life. And that's definitely been my experience. I've definitely seen, since taking this route in Septembryo with the supernatural music, I've seen it kind of enter my life more and more and more. And some of the experiences and synchronicities that I've had over the years just continue to get more and more bizarre. But luckily, like I said, I don't allow it to kind of control me too much, or get too invested in, the details or the meaning behind it. I'm very casual and playful about it. So I've only had mainly positive experiences when it comes to those types of things. But during, my dark time when I wrote the Nightmares album, I did see some things, like I mentioned before, that were suggestively supernatural, that were negative experiences.
So this was this therapy for you?
Very much so, yeah. The interesting thing about Nightmares was it came basically at the tail end of that low point for me. I know everybody in their lives kind of has that dark night of the soul point that they experience. This was mine. And
or dark nights of the soul.
Yeah. The time when you start to kind of question everything and you're not really feeling good about where you are. There's a lot of regret. Like, I remember my mom had passed away. I had some really big doubts in music. I hated my day job. I would go every day. And I think that was the thing that had the biggest effect on me, was just going into this place every day and just kind of like butting heads with my boss. We had just a terrible relationship. And so what I was going to mention was interesting about Daydreams is I began writing it at coming out of that point, basically after having that epiphany that everything that I see around me was my own creation. And so the songs are dark, and they all deal with those dark and painful aspects in my life. Yeah, but there's also, it's kind of, they're all seen through this lens of what I can do to change it. And I did completely. And I won't get too much into that because that's where Daydreams comes in, and that's still a ways away. But my life completely changed after that epiphany.
Awesome. Where can people get the album right now?
So Nightmares is available on virtually all digital platforms, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, you name it. You can find it on there. You can stream it. You can download it. And I did a limited physical run of CDs. They'll probably sell out really soon because I just did like a couple hundred. Not many people buy physical CDs anymore, but I know myself, there's other people like me that really like to have something tangible that they can take home. So I did a small run, and I'll probably get it in stores, Sunrise Records in Canada, but mainly worldwide. You can find it online. Pretty much any platform you use, it will be there.
Cool. And do you mind if we just play a little sample of the music so people can hear?
Go ahead.
All right.
Lost in a bad way, I finally just let go.
All right, and I really like My Own Light, which I just played Lost. That's kind of the intro song to the album.
Thank you.
This is a sample from My Own Light that I really like. And just so everyone who is not familiar with Paranormal Now, Michael has generously allowed us to use his music on occasion to do bumper music. And, we're trying to do our best to get the word out there. So if you are enjoying the little snippets that you've heard now of his music, go to iTunes, just put Septembryo in, Septembryo with a Y, and it will be the first thing to pop up. Some of their past work, including one of my favorites from one of the other albums, is January Waits. That's just a gorgeous song. So, Michael, the song that we just played, that last sample, My Own Light, is that a signal that towards the next album to inform us where we're going with the follow up, part 2?
My Own Light, yeah, it definitely has kind of an optimistic vibe to it. It's kind of, My Own Light is about if you've ever heard the concept of, one candle can light, 1,000 candles and not lose any of its own light by doing that. And it's kind of about the effect that you can have on somebody. You know, you can really have a positive effect on them, and but it's more about being in the place where, you know, you're feeling like, I need somebody to give light to me because mine's gone out. And what's interesting about that song in that place is, you know, I've basically learned that when you're in that spot, there's literally almost nothing anyone can do to kind of help you, because everything is kind of on you. You know, as if you're in that really low point, you know, like I said, you're kind of manifesting all you know, your emotions as well as the circumstances. And so I'm sure a lot of people have experienced in their life, you know, seeing somebody in a really low or dark place and trying to help them out, and just feeling like no matter what they do, it's not pulling them out. And you know, coming from that experience myself, that's the reason for it. So that's what My Own Light is about. It's about basically asking somebody to save me, even though I can only save myself.
Yeah, but it's beautiful because, I mean, it's the asking that helps you get out.
Exactly, yeah. So on that note, if there is one song on Nightmares that is kind of like a transition from the Nightmares to the Daydreams, it'd be Tragic Magic. To me,
it's more of a prelude.
Represents like a prayer being answered. It's almost like the universe sneaking in there and giving you this message, and it represents that epiphany of me finally figuring out that I had been creating and attracting everything myself.
Right.
And that's what the song Tragic Magic is all about.
Well, you know, for me, the paranormal has always been sort of therapeutic in a way. Even the darker aspects of it, it's like the deep mystery of it, kind of keeps me curious, even when things are dark and heavy, you know?
Well, one thing I learned about law of attraction is they say that when you are enjoying the journey more than the destination, the destination ends up coming faster. And I think one of the best things about the paranormal is, I think a lot of us look at these questions and they're almost unanswerable.
Right.
And you don't care that you don't know the answers, because the questions are just so good. And the paranormal has been very good to me, you know, with my life. So I think anything that captures your attention like that, anything that just produces that wonder in you and that positive focus, you know, it has to be good for you. But again, it depends on how you're looking at it. I know a lot of people may look at the paranormal and see some really dark and frightening things, and question how that's going to affect them. It's really all in how you look at it. But for you and me, the paranormal is a beautiful thing. So yeah, can't go wrong there.
Yeah, I think when you embrace not knowing the answers, including the answers to your own questions about yourself, then it's like you're letting go, and then the answers will start slipping in little by little. But you have to seek, but you just can't be. It's like you can't be obsessed. You have to kind of accept that you don't have the answers all the way, and it's just one step at a time until you discover yourself.
Right. One really simple way I heard it put, that I thought was very helpful and beautiful, was when you want it, it comes easy. When you need it, you're kind of keeping it away from you.
Yeah.
Because when you're in wanting, you know, you're thinking about the pleasure of it. When you're in needing, it means that I'm going to be in pain without it.
Right.
And you can't attract what you want in that state.
Exactly. I mean, maybe a terrible metaphor, but it's like when you go to the grocery store and you're starving. It's the worst time to go shopping, and you can't make up your mind. You can't, resolve on what you're going to do.
You buy all the bad things.
Right. Yeah. So you buy the easiest, crappiest stuff, and or fast food.
It's a rule I have. Yeah. We try to never go shopping while hungry. It's so bad.
Well, man, I'm glad that you are the artist that you are, and I hope that we'll stay in touch over the years to come. And I'm really, really excited about this album. I hope it does well. Thank
you so much, Alan. I would really like that. Thank you.
All right, so Septembryo.com, everybody, Septembryo with a Y.com, and let's support Michael as much as we can. All right, so that's it. Michael, any last words?
Stay positive, guys.
All right. Okay, peace and love. Live in the mystery. And if you appreciated today's content, please like this video and subscribe down below. We want to hear your comments. I really want to hear what you have to say. Everything is meaningful, so don't hold back. Alan B. Smith, live in the mystery.